All right, let's jump into a deep dive exploring the evolution of rugby league rules. We'll uncover how this sport transformed from its rugby union origins into the dynamic game it is today, using this essay, The Evolution of Rugby League Rules.
It's fascinating, how these rule changes weren't just minor tweaks. They were deliberate steps towards creating a sport that's thrilling for both players and spectators.
Yeah, for sure. So, back in 1895, a group of Northern English rugby clubs decided to break away from rugby union and form rugby league. And wow, they made some bold moves right from the get-go. Like, they completely got rid of lineouts. Big change. Why do you think they did that?
Well, I think they wanted to keep the game flowing. No more stopping for those long lineouts, just continuous action. That focus on speed and momentum, I think, became like a key part of rugby league's identity.
It's like they pressed fast forward right from the start, and then they took it even further. They shrunk the teams, from 15 players down to 13. That must have created a ton of open space, right?
Oh, absolutely. More space for running, passing, and all those strategic plays. With fewer players on the field, there's more ground to cover, more chances for players to show off their skills, and it really emphasizes teamwork and tactical awareness.
Makes sense. And on top of that, they replaced those contested rucks and mauls, from rugby union with the play the ball. Instead of those long struggles for the ball, the tackled player just gets up and taps the ball with their foot and boom, play restarts.
Right. It injects this urgency into the game, and it shifts the focus away from just brute force and more towards speed, agility, and quick thinking.
These early changes in 1895 were pretty radical, weren't they? Like, they took the essence of rugby, streamlined it, and injected this, shot of adrenaline.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a statement. Rugby league was going to be faster, more dynamic, and more exciting for the fans. They set the stage for a sport that's always pushing boundaries.
And as rugby league grew in popularity, and became more professional, the rule changes kept coming.
Yeah, and it had to, right? As the sport grew, it needed to keep innovating. The folks in charge were constantly trying to find that sweet spot, between athleticism, strategy, and entertainment.
One of the biggest game changers came in 1967, right? The introduction of limited tackles. Can you imagine what the game was like before that?
Oh, man. Before limited tackles, a team could basically hold on to the ball forever, leading to these really slow, forward-dominated matches. Like, imagine watching a game where possession barely changed hands. Not exactly a thriller, is it?
No, that sounds pretty boring, actually. So how did limiting tackles change things?
It was a revolution in strategy. Suddenly, possession became super valuable. Teams couldn't just rely on being bigger and stronger to slowly move down the field. They had to think tactically, make every tackle count, and score within a limited number of plays.
It's like they added a timer, creating this urgency and pushing teams to think strategically. Instead of just trying to wear the other team down, they had to be smart, creative, and make the most of every play.
Yeah, exactly. Teams had to adapt and innovate. We saw new attacking moves, passing strategies, and kicking tactics. The game got faster, more unpredictable, and just more fun to watch.
Wow, it's amazing how one rule change can make such a huge difference. It wasn't just about speed, it was about changing how players and coaches approach the game.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool about rugby league, right? It's this constant evolution, this back and forth between rules, tactics, and the athletes themselves.
Totally. And speaking of keeping the game moving, let's talk about the scrums. Early scrums were known for being really time-consuming and often just ended in these stalemates. How did those change over time?
Yeah, the scrums definitely evolved to minimize all that, keep the game flowing. They got more structured, stricter rules about engagement and how the ball was fed in. This cut down on the time spent resetting scrums, keeping the game moving at a good pace.
It sounds like they were always on the lookout for ways to speed things up, eliminate delays, and just keep the action coming. They wanted the sport to be as fun to watch as it was to play.
Yeah, exactly. And those early changes, they were the foundation, for the rugby league we know today.
As rugby league moved into the 1970s, it was clear that they wanted to make the game even more exciting for fans. Like, they wanted to make it a real spectacle.
Yeah, definitely. It became about, capturing the attention of TV audiences and really growing the sport's popularity.
For sure. So one of the big changes was introducing the 10-meter defensive line in 1993.
Right.
Before that, defenders only had to be 5 meters back from the play of the ball. Pushing them back another 5 meters, that must have had a huge impact.
Oh, it was massive. Think of it like the rugby league field suddenly became way bigger.
Yeah.
All that extra space for the attacking players to use. It opened up so many opportunities for creative running, fancy footwork, and those incredible tries that really get the crowd going.
I bet it made things way harder for the defenders.
It definitely did. They had so much more ground to cover.
Yeah.
Speed, agility, and good communication became super important on defense. But yeah, it made for a more open, exciting style of play, which was great for the fans.
And then there's the 40-20 rule. It always sounds a little complicated to me, but
Yeah.
what made it so revolutionary?
Well, the 40-20 rule added this whole new layer of strategy to the game. Picture this, right? A team is stuck deep in their own territory, under pressure. But then they manage to kick the ball from inside their own 40-meter line and land it inside the opponent's 20-meter line.
Wow.
Boom, they get possession. It was a risky move, but it could totally swing the momentum of a match.
So it wasn't just about booting the ball downfield anymore. It was about accuracy, placement, strategy.
You got it. The 40-20 rule turned every kick into a potential game changer. It encouraged teams to get creative with their kicking game, and it definitely kept everyone guessing.
And around the same time, Rugby League adopted video referees in 1996.
Yeah,
Do you think that was a turning point for professional sports? It seems like such a big deal.
I think it was pretty groundbreaking. Rugby league was really one of the first sports to use video replays to help the officials make those big calls.
Right.
It wasn't just about getting the calls right, though. It was about making sure the game was fair.
I agree. And it also showed that Rugby League was willing to try new things, to embrace technology.
For sure.
Okay, and then there was the Super League War of 1997.
Oh, yeah.
A really interesting time for the sport. How did all that drama affect the rules of the game?
Well, the Super League War was a chaotic time, but it ultimately put a spotlight on making the game even faster and more entertaining for the fans. It led to a bunch of rule changes, like even faster play the balls.
So they were really emphasizing nonstop action.
Absolutely.
So by the end of the 90s, Rugby League had changed a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It was this fast-paced, strategic, visually exciting sport, perfect for the TV age.
Totally. And it showed it wasn't afraid to try new things to push the limits.
Exactly. And then in the 2000s that continued, we saw a big focus on speed, safety, and technology, like golden point extra time in 2003.
Right.
Pretty intense. What did
Yeah.
you think about that?
I mean, Golden Point was a game changer for those close matches. Instead of a tie, you had this sudden death overtime where any play could decide the game. It really kept the fans on the edge of their seats.
It definitely made those close games even more exciting.
Yeah.
And then to help make sure those calls were correct, they introduced the bunker video review system in 2016.
Right.
It's like having a whole team of experts analyzing every little detail of the play, making sure they get it right.
It was a big step in terms of accuracy and consistency for sure.
But-
And it was transparent, which was important for the players and the fans.
I agree. And a few years after that, we had the 6 again rule in 2020. Can you remind me what that was all about?
Yeah, the 6 again rule was all about keeping the game moving. Instead of stopping play for those little ruck infringements, the ref would just restart the tackle count, giving the attacking team 6 more tackles to work with.
So it really kept the game flowing.
Yeah, it rewarded attacking teams and really emphasized quick thinking and agility.
It feels like Rugby League is always striving to be faster, more exciting, and fairer.
Yeah, it's constantly evolving, refining the rules, trying to find that balance between attack and defense, between individual skill and teamwork. And of course, now player safety is a huge focus.
Definitely. We've seen a real effort to crack down on high tackles and dangerous contact.
It shows that they're serious about protecting the players.
Yeah.
It's not just about making the game exciting, it's about making it safer for the athletes.
It's amazing how Rugby League has managed to blend speed, safety, and entertainment into this incredible sport. But what about the future? Where do we go from here? What kind of rule changes are being tossed around to take the game to a whole new level?
Well, there's always something brewing in rugby league. One idea that's getting some attention is reducing the number of interchanges allowed during a game.
Oh, interesting. Right now, teams can swap players pretty often to keep everyone fresh and energized, maintain that fast pace. Wouldn't limiting interchanges make the game slower, though? Wouldn't players get tired more quickly?
That's a valid concern. It's a hot topic, for sure. But some folks argue that fewer interchanges could actually lead to a more open attacking style of play. Players wouldn't be able to rely on those fresh bursts of energy from substitutes. They'd have to be more strategic with their energy and pick their moments to attack.
Ah, so it could actually make the game more tactical, more about planning and resource management.
Precisely. It would add another layer of strategy to the game. And some even say it could reduce injuries because players wouldn't be coming onto the field cold and going all out right away.
That's a good point. So it's not just about speed, it's about sustainability and smart play. What else is being talked about?
Well, with technology advancing so quickly, there's talk about using even more video tech. Some people envision a future where AI is analyzing plays in real time, maybe even replacing some of the human referees.
Wow, that's pretty futuristic. But I can see the benefits. No more human error and more accurate calls in those crucial moments.
Exactly. And it could speed up the decision-making process,
Mhm.
keep the game moving without those frustrating interruptions.
Yeah. I guess the big question is, how much are we willing to let technology take over those critical parts of the game? It's an interesting debate, for sure. Anything else on the horizon?
Another thing that's been discussed is standardizing the rules globally. Right now, there are some slight differences between the NRL, Super League, and international competitions.
Oh, right. So a player moving from one competition to another might have to adapt to slightly different rules. That sounds tricky.
It can be, especially in those high-pressure moments when you have to make split-second decisions.
Definitely. So standardizing the rules would make things consistent for players and fans around the world, and probably improve the overall quality of the game.
Exactly. It would level the playing field and let the best talent shine, no matter where they're playing.
It makes a lot of sense. So the future of rugby league is full of possibilities. That's pretty exciting.
Absolutely. This sport is always evolving,
Hmm.
always innovating and pushing the boundaries. That's what keeps it so interesting and engaging.
Well, there you have it, folks. We've explored the amazing journey of rugby league from its humble beginnings to those groundbreaking changes and its exciting future. It's a sport that's always looking for ways to improve, entertain, and challenge the limits of what's possible. And now we want to hear from you. If you could change one rule in rugby league, what would it be? Keep exploring this incredible sport, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive.